Hi guys, and welcome back here to the Dev Realm, and today we're going to be carrying on our series, and let's just jump in straight away to the bug. Basically the problem is, I found it is that we are calling this random integer. We are not saving this information into our string. So basically what we need to do here is that we're going to set dice row. We're going to set this value right here. And then we're going to plug it right there. Okay. So we can use this for both of them. Now, the first thing I would like to do here is that I'm going to move this to the dice row. So I'm going to paste it right here. And now, instead of using the dice number, I'm just going to use the dice row. Sorry, dice row. Plug it here and plug it right there. Okay. So now, compile and save. All we're gonna do here is that we remove that. I think from here as well, we don't need to pass this information anymore. So what happened is that we are always returning that data right here. So he's rolling the dice, setting up the dice, and then of course it rolls the dice here. So press play, roll, number 3, number 2, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, now the dice, it's coming up properly. All right. So that was just the issue. It's just that way I end up being, just doing a crazy logic, trying to do, I forgot that, that function calls all the time. Now we have here now a function where we're going to call this set the final dice, right? Final dice. Now, what I would like to do here, guys, before is just that I would like to generate the logic to set the dice, the final dice, in the player controller, or actually in the component. The reason why is because the component runs both on client, and I don't want people to cheat. So if this runs on the client, people can cheat, and that will be a problem. So what we're going to do here first is just one quick adjustment that sets the final row here, right? So that's fine. We always rolling this dice that runs right here. So now what we're going to do here is for the dice, okay, is that we are going to create a new variable called the widget ref, okay? Now this is going to be have a reference to the main TCG widget. Okay. Now what happened is that I'm going to open up here the component, which is the one that we created the TCG here. And the game rules, we're going to create here a custom event called API roll dice. Okay. Now the roll dice, we are just going to basically run on the client first. So the client calls, then we're going to create a custom event where the server calls, and then we're going to create another custom event where the multicast runs. Multicast. All right. Now what happened here is that this one calls that end up calling this. So now what happened is that we have the client, so it's going to be run on the server. And now we have to run the multicast. Now, of course, there's another layer of abstraction here that I would like to do, which is basically I would like to pass the final value from the game instance, or the matchmaking, as I would like to call, because those things, I would say that it has to be handled only on the server, okay? But we do not have that information right now. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a random integer in range from 1 to 6, okay? And here it's going to be the value, sorry, dice row. Now what we're going to do, this is going to be integer, right? So we're going to plug it right here. And then all you got to do here is that we need to open up here our main TCG card. Okay. It's going to be the dice. So the dice here is going to be a variable. And also on the begin play of this whole thing, we need to set the widget ref. Oh, yes. I forgot one thing. This needs to be maybe exposed on spawn. If I'm not mistaken, but anyway. Set self. Okay. Now what happened is that what we can do here is that we go reload attributes and whatever. So that's fine. So this encounters. And we can create here a custom event called API set dice. All right. Now what happened is that we get here our dice, and we call the API set dice final. All right. Run that here. Set the final dice. Now what we have to do here is that on the dice itself, we need to basically call that function, which is called, it's rolling, like we not rolling anymore, but we're going to go back here to the dice roll, get the component, and we're going to call the API set or dice, right? So all you got to do, you call that function, roll the dice. Now what happens is that rolling the dice goes back to the widget, it rolls the dice on the server, it gets this value down on the server, and then it returns for us right here. So the way we can see if this is working, first of all, we're going to run here as normal. So we're going to run that 5, that's fine. Now if I go back here and run this as a server, I should see that since server 1, perfect. Now if I run this as a client, what should happen is that I should see both client and server saying the same thing, or at least the server. And that is because the multicast, sorry, needs to be set up as a multicast. I really forgot to turn that thing on. So now if I press play, I should see client 2, server 2. You see, both are on the same page. Now what happened is that we just need to get our widget reference, and if it is valid, right, it's valid, we need just to API set dice, right, and we need to pass whatever the value that it came from this, which is the dice roll, right. Compile and save. Now we're going to press play, and now we're going to roll the dice and see 1 and then 4, and now it's coming through the server. All right, and after once you finish rolling the dice here, right, so he rolls the dice, call function, so he rolls the dice. What happened is that we have now to basically we have to disable this widget, because I don't want this to be enabled all the time, but I think for now we can leave it here. But as you can see, now we roll the dice. So the idea is like this. Okay, it's your turn, roll the dice. Number 3, so you had 3 points of mana here, and then everything, you know, carries on and helps and does all the stuff. So one thing I would like to do here today, guys, is that I would like to set up our, let's say, match or the rules, right, for this. So to do that, I am going to go back here to the game mode, right? So we're going to have here the game mode. In the game mode, we have here a couple of things. So the game mode only runs on what we call the server. All right, so we have here the game session, we have game state, This only default value show. There's not any scripted values. If you want to add some, add on the blueprint editor. So what we can get here, let me just double check. Get game instance. I would like to see what is my game instance. So print instance. No, actually, it's not a game instance. Get game mode. Returns the game mode or no. It can reach as part of the client. So let me have a look here. So what's the game mode that we have? So when we roll the dice, we're returning client 0. So it doesn't have any game mode. But I think the game mode is only accessible on the server, if I'm not mistaken. So if I roll that, yes, only works on the server. So what we want to do here is that we want to get our game mode, which is only accessible by the server, and we want to do certain things on this. So as you can see here, like if you pay attention to the name TCG game, then of course it should be, you know, TCG game for number 2 or 0, right? So we always have one game mode. So if I, for example, have here, let's say, I don't know, 4 players, all right? And we press play here. Now they're all gonna run in the same space. So here, so they all have the same game mode, which is a very advantage for us. So for example, what I would like to do here, it's a very simple thing, but very powerful though. When we start the game, which it's run on the client here, when the player loads the attributes, I want to get the game mode, and I want to cast to the GM this one, right? So what happened is that this will basically when you load the game, start the attribute, you're going to promote to a variable called GM or game mode. Now this is going to be public and it can be replicated, although it only works on the client, on the server, sorry. Now what happened is that on the TCG game, I can create here a new, let's say, class, right? A new thing here called custom event called API. And we're going to call this roll dice, right? Now, the reason why this has to run on that, it's because I need to be able to replicate this across many clients, and I need to only validate this on the TCG game mode. By the way, this game mode, so what we can do here is now we can promote to a variable last dice roll, all right? So we can set this. Everything here always runs on the server, so we don't even need to bother doing this, but we'll do that. Anyway, now what happened is we are going to go back to the TCG component. Now, instead of calling this information, we're going to get the game mode and we're going to call the API roll dice. And that API roll dice will get our last roll dice. So we can need to get here, get the last roll diced roll, right? And now we just need to call that, set the API, put it right here, and let's press play. So now if I roll here, I get number 6, number 2. And the way we can actually test if this thing's working properly or not is by doing something like that. So I am going to get the last dice roll. So I'm going to print here. Print. I'm going to put this value right here. I'm going to plug this value right there. Plug this one here. I'm going to increase the size of this to like something ridiculous, like 20. And I'm going to put this orange, right? compile and save that information. Now, okay. Now what happens is that I'm going to play as a client and as a server. So I'm playing, let's say I'm trying to do a matchmake with myself. So I'm going to roll here 0. And that one, 1. So you see, I took 1. Now this one is 4. So if I roll again, the last one was 4, but now it's 1. And if I roll here again, that means that this is 1 and the new value is 4, which means it's always getting the last value. So it means they are replicating to themselves, which is really good. This is exactly what I wanted. This is just a safe way of protecting that. By the way, the game mode, we are going to call this, how can we call this? What's the best name for something that we could call matchmaking, right? We could call matchmaking or something, but yeah, let's just leave it as game mode for now. All right, so this roll the dice on the server, right? Now what is going to happen here, guys, is that we have here the game rules and we have the game actions. All right, now the game, so when we add the client here, I would like also to migrate this logic to our TCG game mode there. But this is going to be something for the next episode. The reason why we're going to do this in the next one is because I would like to move both the add and the remove. It needs to be added here. So the reason why is that we want to avoid people cheating on our game. All right. So what we have to do here is that we have to pass our player information to the server, and we need to basically replicate that. Or we can just leave it here for now. And then we actually, you know what? I just had a better idea. Let's for now leave it this. Let's just, we can maybe add a to-do later. Then we can refactor this in the future. Because right now I think this is quite working really well. What I would like to do here on the next video, let me just put this back to 1, is that I would like to start the ability for the player to, when he add a card, he checks if he has the ability, or when it's your turn, he adds, you know, the health, the mana. So for example, here if I add a new card, let's get like where's the defense? There you go, Iron Wall. So if I added this one, I will get +4 off shield, you know, like, and all that stuff. So that's what I would like to do on the next video. So once again, guys, thank you very much for watching. I think this is looking quite good now. We are getting the hang of this. And we have very nice, you know, like UI. Everything looks great. There's some things, you know, rough around the edges kind of situations. But I think we really got a very cool UI. So thank you very much for watching, and I see you in the next one.